Well. It's Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, and we're dealing in truth and we're dealing in fiction tonight. And let me start off first by saying that Jill Stein came out and in her rebuttal to John Oliver quoted the article that we put out there yesterday. The article that was quoting two very, very awesome economists, friends, people within the modern monetary theory world of influence in Scott Fulwiler and Rohan Gray. And I'm not going to lie, I felt tremendous vindication. So many of Jill's supporters who, I mean, let's be fair, I'm a convert, right? I'm a former burner, gone to Jill. But many of Jill's supporters and many burners came to me, you're just propping up the Rothschilds. You're just propping them up. You're a Federal Reserve. Well, guess what? Jill Stein came out and said that her plan would have been that way too. The way I've been speaking, everything I said, damn, what about that? Let me try it backwards. Okay, bottom line, folks. I know my shit when it comes to econ. I know my stuff when it comes to economics. And I'm not lying to you. And I don't get on here dropping elbows, talking smack, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Trust me, if you think that every single night I'm willing to get in front of a camera and talk about this stuff because I don't know what I'm talking about, wow. I got other things I could be doing. I'm telling you right now, Jill came out and supported it now. How you like me now? Boom! All right, got that out of the way. I've been dying to do that for hours. It was just like, For all those people wagging their finger, oh, the Federal Reserve. Well, guess what? Jill came out and said the things I said. So did Rohan Gray. And so did Scott Fulwiler. And you've been saying, no. And I'm here saying, hoorah! Fist in the air. I'm right. Ooh. Just a moment. Because I've been dealing with so much. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. And the Fed, Rothschilds. I just love it. It's like fist in the air in the land of Moronica. Not hypocrisy, Moronica. All right. So let's talk about this Project Veritas. And let's talk about Mr. Assange. And let's talk about the lies that are being perpetrated by our government and lies being perpetrated by our media. And let's talk about how we can overcome that as a unit. Now, I'll be honest with you. I got some disturbing news today. I can't verify it, so I'm not going to sit there and spurt it out, but I'm going to say this much. Anytime you have to question reality because everything you're hearing just doesn't ring true. It's like, what the hell am I hearing? What is going on, right? When you have to sit there and every single thing you look at requires more effort to figure out if it's right or wrong than it does to read, you know you're living in a dystopian, like, complete, like, farce of a world. And Obama's come out recently as saying basically that we need truth in media and all these conspiracy theorists out there are, flooding the world with ignorance and so forth. And then all of the media that we have had to be force-fed forever, now we find out has been systematically lying to us with the help of Podesta and the rest of the Hillary Clintons of the world. And now we've got Julian Assange, who's like been cut off from the world already, but now is really, really cut off from the world. Now we got him, who's actually producing truth. Now we got him on the lam. Now we got him completely on the fritz. And yet we've got our powers, the people that supported Obama, the people, well, WikiLeaks has never been a reliable source. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is what the vote blue worthless sycophants are saying right now. Well, WikiLeaks is not really, well, they're in bed with Trump. The Russians have them on retainer. Julian was paid $1 million. I mean, all this shit's coming out. So the one areas that are actually giving us truth, these wretched drones, these lemmings, these zombies, are sitting there doing the dirty work for the liars. These worthless drones are doing the dirty work for the liars. And we're left to sift through the gaslighting like serpents trying to weave through a bunch of shit to get to truth. Now, I'm going to go back to the Jill thing for a minute. I knew what I was talking about. I walked into that economic discussion ready to fight. I had been told earlier in the day, Steve, try and prepare something, and maybe we'll get it over to Jill. I didn't have time to write anything. That's why I did the video stream. It's easier for me to talk. I do it. I do it so much. It's easier for me to talk than to write this crap out. If somebody wants to transcribe my words, knock yourself out. But I don't have it in me to do it. So when I saw them come back and use the Market Watch article, I thought to myself, we might really be onto something in terms of people starting to come together to unify around the proper economic strategy. Now, you guys have been living under a Friedman world of monetarist thinking that believes that the more money you print, they'll have inflation, etc. But that is gold bug logic, folks. It's a lie. All these lies that are spread around, you are left to sift through like a serpent trying to weave in and out of the garbage. All that garbage out there, and you have no idea what to do with it. You literally have no idea what to do with it. And I don't blame you. It's very, very difficult to sift through. When I found out about modern monetary theory, I was probably like you guys. Somebody was trying to, and I couldn't wrap my head around this whole, what do you mean sovereign? What do you mean the currency issuer? What do you mean I've never actually seen a dollar? And I'm telling you right now, the idea that taxes didn't fund spending blew my flipping mind to the point where I stayed up for days, like no sleep. Like I was like, oh my God, what did they just tell me? I can't figure this out. It just blew my mind. I mean, like, oh my God. So, and I'm serious. When I say this, you'll understand if you're catching on. I got so pissed off, so angry when I realized not only the lie they told, but I realized the consequences of those lies. How many people have died to further these lies? I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing that got me to where I became devoted and dedicated several years ago to making modern monetary theory and being an evangelist for this economic theory. This is what turned me into the fire-breathing economics dude that I've become. And I would listen to these people that would talk to me. They would take me down these long, winding roads to tell me this stuff. And I just sit there and I'd listen. I was like, there's got to be an easier way to say this. There has got to be, because this is like life-changing. Holy God, this changes every conversation. And I mean, I went ballistic, folks. I don't know if any of you all have had this aha moment yet where it just blows your mind to the point where you're like, God, I've got to do something with this knowledge or I'm going to freak the fuck out. That's what happened to me. And I would get these phone calls. I had a whole bunch of friends. Just so you all know, if you guys have friends that are trying to get caught up into this, make some buddies doing this. Because if you bounce these ideas back and forth with each other, don't talk to the knuckleheads that want to talk that bullshit libertarian crap. I'm talking about modern monetary theory, the freaking economic theory that is going to save our freaking planet, save our children, save our lives. I'm talking about the way of dealing with economics from 1971 to present. Folks, it is that life-changing. Find friends, buddy up, start talking, push each other to read articles. I'll send you more and more and more if you actually read them. Problem is that most of the articles I put out there, they get about 3 likes, maybe 5. And then I end up putting in there, typical, the most important article I've posted in weeks gets 1 like. But you guys, seriously, those of you who actually give a shit about the country and are trying to figure this stuff out, buddy up with people. Seriously. Come up with small groups. Start talking. Bring questions up. Ask me questions. I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of them. And if I don't have them, God knows I know how to get them. I've got friends that know this stuff, and I know it too. And when you hit the top of my knowledge level, God, thank you that you've given me access to the people that can answer it down to the nth degree. And you guys need to build small teams. Small little SWAT teams that go out and spread the word in these other groups. Go into these green groups that are friggin' ignorant as hell screaming, "End the Fed." Go into these burner groups that are screaming, "End the Fed." Talk to all them. Talk to the Republicans. Tell them, hey guys, we can work together. You don't need to worry about raising taxes. Talk to them. Talk to the libertarians and say, hey guys, you don't really matter much, but if you decide you want to become human beings, we got room on this team for you too. Sorry, I used to be a libertarian, so I take pot shots at them because I love the idea of ending the drug war so much, and they were the only game in town at the time that was really taking an active stance on that. So hats off to the LOL libertarians for taking a good stance on it, even though they were completely wrong. And why? They just hate government coercion, right? That's really all it comes down to. Is always, that's force. Anyway, back at the ranch. So we put this Project Veritas video up. And it's, of course, the joker that came up with the Acorn video. It's, of course, the people that doctor videos and make you look like an a-hole for sharing it. And so we looked at it and we thought about it, and there's a lot of really important information in there, some of which I don't think you can do too much doctoring with. It's just straight up. And you add in the WikiLeaks and you put them together, and then you listen to even the crazy Trump meister, and you put it all together. I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to me. Now, the problem is that the source is garbage. And once you've blown your credibility, you kind of have a hard time getting it back. Once you've done something shady and you've gone ahead and doctored video evidence, and then you try to redeem the time by putting something else out there, it's a very tough road to get back into the path where people actually pay attention to you again. So we took that video down because we didn't want to have egg on our face. And if it's still up there, folks, my admin team, I'm talking to you right now. If it's still up, let's get rid of it till we can do some more verification of it. It's not because I don't want it to be true. It's not because I don't believe it to be true. It's because there's enough question in there that I don't want to be guilty of spreading bullshit, even though I despise the shill, I despise the DNC, I despise all of them. I despise the Republicans too, but so what, right? I'm not really fighting for the right, I'm fighting for the friggin' humanity. So, at the end of the day, I worry very much about our credibility as real progressives. And we got this inbox earlier today from somebody that said, you guys aren't lefties. You guys are the crazy left. You guys aren't even good people. You're not progressive. You're just as bad as teabaggers. I was like, well, that was insightful. Thank you so much. What would I have ever done without that inbox? I will go to the bed tonight happy to know that we're worse than teabaggers. Anyway, so you see all these people, they're throwing softballs, they're throwing curveballs, they're trying to change the narrative. They're never letting you zero in on what truth is. Objective truth. What is truth? I don't know. Depends. If I was from this angle, truth looks different than if I was from this angle. And you got to look at where people come from to understand the filter by which they examine details. Because it takes putting the details together to actually come up with information, right? You have data, it's raw, it's unprocessed. It's not necessarily saying anything. It's all those little synapses, all those connecting points, your history and everything you've known and grown to believe that connects all that data to come up with a story that you have, devised in your brain as an objective truth. And then you share that objective truth with people, and they have a different vantage point. Now all of a sudden, you're back and forth hating each other. But you can never quite zero in on what is truth. There are some things out there that are objective truth. Okay? And the economic stuff that I'm talking about, even once I start giving you possible policy prescriptions, now I'm talking theory. Now I'm saying, these are things I can imagine we could do with this great, wonderful knowledge we have. Okay? But when I talk about modern monetary theory and the way federal financing works, in no way, shape, or form am I talking about a theory. I am talking about like the science of watching. How does federal financing happen? And you're looking at it with a microscope, and this is what happens. Step 1 is this, step 2 is that, step 3 is this. That's not theory. That's an observation. That's truth. What I prescribe when I say block grants to the states, when I say, oh yeah, Jill could wipe that out without any inflation and blah, blah, blah. Well, we know objectively that money growth, now that we're off the gold standard, doesn't create hyperinflation. But at what point in time do you say, hey, we've spent too much money, we can't spend anymore without starting some inflation? Well, we've already talked to you about that. That's called sectoral balances. So we've got some factual data here. We've got some stuff we can say with some pretty empirical knowledge, empirical data that says this is objective truth. So now we're talking war. Let's jump to war for a minute. And we've got stuff going on the Russian border. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff with us saber-rattling with China, saber-rattling with friggin' Russia, saber-rattling with Syria, bombing Yemen, for God's sake. We are all over the place with this stuff. And when I read it, I always remember that people like to posture. People like to puff up and say they're doing X, Y, and Z, and try to use that as a negotiating tactic by proving they're the tougher asshole than the other asshole. So in my heart of hearts, I'm hoping that there's a lot of posturing going on. But what I'm seeing is there's a lot of pipelines going on, a lot of oil pipelines out there. There's a real battle for who's going to have control over oil again. Now, is that why all this is happening? Now you're getting into opinion. Now you're getting into areas that I can't speak to with authority. What I can say is that objectively speaking, there are pipelines suddenly in play, and that Russia would like to be in control of the oil production. That's pretty obvious. So at what point in time do you begin to start saying, hey, we may be going to war? We already are bombing Yemen. We already are engaged in Syria. Now, do you think we're dumb enough to fight Russia? Do you think we're dumb enough to go and invade Russia or start bombing Moscow or something like that? I hope not. But that would be an opinion right now because you've got no objective facts. It's not World War III until it's World War III. But I will tell you, it might be a good time to start stocking up on some non-perishable foods and some water just in case of, say, I don't know, something that would knock out the power grid. I don't know if that would ever happen or not. That's where we go into weirdness because we can't objectively state that. We could say it's a possibility, right? Anything's possible. We've got some good intel that says that something stupid might happen. So maybe it's a good idea to go ahead and do that just in case. Boy Scouts, be prepared, right? But that right there is not fact. We're not at World War III. It hasn't happened. We've seen a lot of times where people puff up. Now, I think it's very, very important that we as real progressives understand that repeatedly throughout this entire process, we have seen over and over again that weird major incidences happen right when we're starting to talk about domestic policy, starting to talk about helping the 99% out. Crazy shootings suddenly happen, crazy bombings, crazy events. Now, is it a false flag? I don't know. I have no objective proof of that at this point. Is it conceivable? Sure. But I do know this. We, as a progressive community, have to focus on objective truth as much as possible and leave the conspiracy theories, because you don't have proof yet. They're like a great idea that's in your head. We need to leave them as far to the other side as possible, because they want to derail our revolution by getting us spun out and going into these other directions that we can't actually take action on. That's the deal, folks. That's where I'm at. So when we talk about what is objective truth, and we talk about when we're reading stuff, how do we fact check? How do we know what's a good source? How do we know what we're doing with anything? How can we determine what is true? We got to check multiple sources. Pretend like you're an academic for a minute. If you start seeing the same exact thing over and over and over again, look to see if they're borrowing the same words from each other and just repurposing it, repackaging it on another website. Start looking at, like, just some of the ones that we use nowadays, now that we can't trust our mainstream media. Just so you know, doesn't mean they're perfect. These are the ones I like. I like Counterpunch. I like Truth Dig. I like Truth Out. I like ProPublica. I like Grist. I like Common Dreams. And then it starts getting sketchy beyond that. There's a couple others out there that I like too, but you don't see me doing any Supreme this or, that. And of course you like Real Progressives USA. But the fact is that I truly keep my sources. I look across, but there's some that have proven themselves to be worthy of my time. I don't just read these clickbait sites and start fapping over, oh, look at this. Somebody sends me a bunch of clickbait stuff. I thank them kindly, because I appreciate you thinking about Real Progressives. And I appreciate you thinking that I might want to read it. And I do read it, but I'm not going to use it probably unless it is one of the sources that I've grown to trust. Because truth is a tough thing to find these days. And I value it almost as much as I value my own personal time anymore. So when it comes to truth, when it comes to our pursuit of truth as a movement, if you guys are just getting lazy and throwing stuff over the fence repeatedly, if you're not doing your due diligence to try and fact check yourself, you're hurting us. And I understand why, because you're starved for information. And it's really difficult to find truth. Everything we post, I do my best with the team to make sure it's truth. I can't swear to it. I'm not there to write it. I do my best to scrub it. But I can't guarantee its veracity. So I have to use a little bit of personal judgment or professional judgment or whatever you want to call it to determine it. These WikiLeaks, they're pretty clear cut. They're pretty clear cut. These videos that are snippets, they could be edited, they could be done without context. It's very important that you not give away your credibility by posting nonsense. Credibility is the one thing our movement can ill afford to let go of. It really is. It's the most important thing that we've got going for us. So, I'm asking you all, as real progressives, to do your best, your dead level best, to stay in truth. No matter how sexy no matter how sexy the story might be, stay in truth. Try to verify your stuff. Don't post junk. Let's keep it real as best we can. Let's be stewards of truth. So, the one thing that you can count on from me, and I said it earlier, and I'll say it again, I will do my dead level best to give you guys as much truth about economics as I possibly can. It's the one area that I understand pretty much inside and out. There's other areas that I'll do my best on, but I can't guarantee everything's perfect. But I can guarantee you this: we do care, and so should you. This Sunday, myself, Jackie Lukman, Claudia Stauber, Tim Black, Tim Canova, Bruce Carter, and of course Lee Camp, the Debbie the Same Progressive, several others, many others, bands, music, and a bunch of great young upstart activists from Real Bernie Sanders activists, Never Hillary. They have fought tooth and nail to make this march happen. I'm proud to be a part of it. I know it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be great. And we're going to do our best, no matter what challenges we face, to make sure the progressive movement is well represented. Because everything we do reflects on the movement, right? So I'm asking you all to support us, whether it be afar, sharing the live streams you see at Real Progressives, please, or whether it be actually in the crowd, showing up to support us, whether it be donating financially to the march to help out with the costs. Whatever your involvement, just remember, not me, us. It's a we thing. So is truth. Let's work together to retain our credibility. And remember, I was right about the economics, wasn't I? Have a great night, everybody. This is Steve with Real Progressive saying good night.